And today, what I'm going to be sharing with you is I want to ask you this question, in fact, and that is, what is the one thing that you can improve or develop on to strengthen your personal brand? So let me know that in the comments. And why am I focusing on that today? Well, the great news is that, first of all, if you're based in the UK, you will probably listened to Boris Johnson last night and heard that the end is in sight. There is sunshine at the end of that rainbow, and we will be coming out of lockdown over the next few weeks and months. So that's really positive for everyone. We're going to be able to reconnect and see people and have our friends that we can reach out to, and also maybe returning to the office. So let me know if this might be the case for you. Do you think you might be returning to the office, heading back in? Maybe not every day, but will you be going in to have meetings? Perhaps you'll be able to go back out and see clients. What does that mean for you when it comes to your job, when it comes to your career? Hi, Brad. How are you doing? You're watching from sunny Bletchley today. Great to hear it's sunny. That's very sunny here. The sun is actually streaming through the windows in front of me. So yes, that's great. Hi, Donna Marie. How are you doing? Long time no see. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Michelle, hi there. Thanks for hopping on. Great to see you. Donna, are you at Luton Airport, or by Luton Airport, should I say? So you're not jumping on a plane just yet then, right? Hazel, hello Hazel, how are you? Great to have you here today. Thank you guys. So let me know, what does the opening up of this lockdown we've been through over the last 2 months mean for you when it comes to your job, your business, or in the workplace? Does it mean that you might be returning to the office, even if it's just one day a week? Or does it mean you'll be going out to see maybe some of your clients and have meetings with people, meeting up for those coffees, the things that we used to do? Let me know in the comments. And the reason I want to talk about this today is because I want to explore with you what is the one thing that you can focus on over the coming weeks to strengthen your personal brand. Now, it's the case from what I've seen, particularly online on social media, and a lot of people who talk about personal branding have been very focused on your online presence and your online brand. And that is great, because that is very, very important. But the truth is, when we go back out into the world and we start meeting people again and having meetings or coffees or going into the office, you're meeting people back in person again. So does that online brand that you have created, does that align with how you show up in person? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. And so for me, I'm very much focused on personal branding being about how you as the individual show up in person. And whilst many people have worked on developing a strong online personal brand in terms of maybe your LinkedIn profile, your social media presence, and engaging more, what have you been doing to work on yourself? Because my belief is that is where your personal brand begins. It's about looking introspection and looking at yourself and getting clear on who you are, what you stand for, what you want to be known for, what are your values, both personally and professionally. And then how are you coming across? So these are some of the things that I believe are important to consider. And there's personal branding is multifaceted. So I've mentioned the online presence, the LinkedIn profile, but there's also the way that we dress, the colors, the styles that we wear, and how we look from an image point of view. So there's that aspect of personal branding as well. And then we look at you as an individual, and that's where my focus is. Let me know if this is resonating with you, and also let me know which one aspect of your personal brand are you going to be focusing over the coming weeks and months when you're about to head back out into the big wide world and start seeing people and meeting people again, particularly in a professional capacity. Michelle, brand strengthener, reconnect with old contacts and networks, reminding them about what I do. Absolutely, yes, because we've had lots of time during lockdown to do that. We want to keep maintaining that and keeping ourselves top of mind for our potential clients, customers, and colleagues and people within our workplace, in our industry. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. And so when I ask you, does your online presence right now align with how you show up in person, with who you are? Because ultimately, my belief is your personal brand starts with you. Let me know if you agree with that in the comments. And also, this is about how you show up. So how you show up on calls, whether it's video conferencing or on the old school telephone. How are you coming across to other people? Because remember, your personal brand is all about others' perceptions of you. And it's about things like how you would walk into the office, how you show up for a meeting, how would you walk into that meeting room? In what way do you communicate? Are you communicating effectively? Are you communicating in an engaging way? And particularly online, because it's a lot harder to maintain engagement from your audience when you are presenting online. Would you agree with me? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. So what are you doing differently to ensure that you maintain that engagement from your audience? And also, how are you doing that in person? So when you return to showing up in person and standing perhaps in front of your colleagues or clients and presenting, what are you going to be doing to ensure you have that engagement with them? And also, how do you build connection? How do you build connection with your colleagues, your peers, your managers, and again, people within the wider industry, as well as your clients and customers? So these are some of the aspects I invite you to consider when you're thinking about your personal brand and what you can do differently over the coming weeks to really develop and improve upon that. Donna Marie, I agree that my personal brand starts with me. Absolutely. And this is a thing often we forget. Anybody can sit there and create a beautiful LinkedIn profile or be typing away and engaging in other people's posts, and that is great. That is important as well, because you want to be seen, you want to be showing that you have a point of view, but ultimately it does start with you. Thanks, Donna Marie, for sharing that. And so some of the things that I'd like you to consider when it comes to your personal brand, and starting with looking at yourself and what can you do. So right now, this is a great opportunity, and I've had people come to me who've said they want to reinvent themselves for when it is time to return to work, to go into the workplace, and they want to be able to show up differently. Why has this shown up? Because when we've been on camera for the last several months, we get to actually see ourselves back. It's like looking in a mirror, because previously, when you're in meetings, when you're in the workplace, you don't have that mirror up to you all the time, right? You're not seeing yourself. Other people are seeing you. And what I've noticed is people are now starting to recognize how they're coming across and maybe thinking, well, actually, they want to improve upon that. They can do something even better. Does this resonate with you? Is this something that maybe you've noticed for yourself when you've been showing up on camera over the last several months? And let me ask you, what have you done, if anything, to improve upon that in the way that you show up and the way that you're coming across on camera? And then how can you then bring that into the real world when you return to the office, when you start to go out and meet with colleagues, with your managers, with your peers, and with clients? What are you going to do differently so you show up in a really positive way? You have a strong brand, you have strong presence about you. Let me know. And so what I'd like to share with you are some of the things that you want to consider, because we can always learn, we can always grow, we can always develop. And I'm all about becoming the best version of you. I want you to be able to show up as the best version of you in all situations, whether that continues to be online, whether it's on Zoom or Teams, or whether it's showing up in person in the workplace. So let me know, does this resonate with you, and what are you going to be doing over the coming weeks to really develop and hone your skills so that you show up as the best version of you and have a strong personal brand in the workplace? Let's have a look. Some comments coming in here. Michelle, brand strength and a recon. Oh, sorry, we've read that one, haven't we? Let me see. There's another one from me. If you don't establish your brand for yourself, the public will do it for you. Very, very powerful. This is so true. So people will judge. They will form impressions of you within the first few seconds of seeing you, even before you've uttered a word. So the only thing you can then do is to influence that perception that people have of you. So this is where your personal branding comes in, and about being very aware of how you're coming across, how you're showing up, and what can you do differently to create an even better impression. and to be the best version of you. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. That's so, so powerful. I love that. Donna Marie, my unique personal values are the foundation of my life now. Yeah, and that is exactly it. That is where it starts. The first thing that you want to be thinking about is your brand identity. And that begins with thinking about your values, what you stand for, what is non-negotiable for you. And this will impact both your personal and your professional life. But because by getting clear on this, it will directly influence the way that you show up. And people, you don't have to spell out what your values are. It will come across in your behaviors and people will start to pick that up. You'll also attract people who share similar values to you. So this is a great place to start. Thank you, Donna Marie, for sharing that. Brad, let's have a look. Take big, bold steps and encourage to reach out to connections and colleagues. So I'm guessing this is what you're doing right now, Brad, right? And you're doing a fantastic job of it. I can say that with confidence. For these connections and conversation, this will lead to other doors opening, guidance, leads, and clarity of thinking for yourself and for others. Exactly. Thank you, Brad, for sharing that. And this is one of the points that I wanted to talk about as well. So I'll go into that now. And that is about developing and nurturing your network. You want to surround yourself with people who become your advocates, your supporters, and who have you top of mind so that when opportunities do come up, as Brad says, or there are someone is hiring, there's an opportunity for a promotion or a big project, that people will think of you. And even better, when it comes to that bonus or the pay rise, and there's always a limited pot, as we know, that you will be top of mind when it comes to who they're going to consider to receive that money. Okay? Have you been in that situation before? Let me know. What have you done to ensure that you are standing out, that you're making a difference and adding value so that your managers, the people who make those decisions, have got you top of mind and remembering all the value that you've brought so that they then consider you when they're looking at that pool of money and who they can share that out with. And this is why it's so important to build your personal brand. And it's also about having, as Brad says, having conversations with people. You can always learn something new. And I believe that one conversation can change your life. So it's really, really important to be reaching out to people, whether it's people in your existing network or looking to expand your network and speak to new people. And people love connecting. And I've talked about it at length before, particularly during lockdown. People have been craving connection. So it's a great opportunity to be reaching out to other people and building that connection. And you just never know where that conversation can take you. It can bring you into a new network. It can introduce you to new people. Perhaps there's an opportunity. You just do not know. So take advantage of the fact that you already have people in your network. Go back and nurture those relationships. And even if you haven't spoken to people for a while, just reach out. And I know for a fact this is something that Brad has been doing. He has been reaching out to people he's worked with years ago. And I've heard people say, well, it's really difficult. I don't know what to say. One of the big parts of building relationships is building rapport. And a great way to build rapport is finding something that we've all got in common. And one of the things that everyone's got in common right now is the experience of the global pandemic. So think about that. Our experiences are all very different in what we've been going through over the last 12 months, but we've all experienced it in some way. So it's a great opportunity to reach out, connect to people, and genuinely ask, or show an interest and ask how they've been, what's been going on for them, what's been the impact for them, whether it's personally, whether it's professionally, obviously depending on the dynamic of the relationship you had with them. But people will welcome hearing from you and having you reach out to them. So I invite you to do that. And as Brad said, there's also the leads. There's potential opportunity. If you're on the job market, for example, or you're just maybe looking around, you want to know what's going on in the industry, have conversations with people, reach out and just have a chat to hear what's going on, share ideas, share your points of view. So that's the second thing that I want you to think about when it's, what is the one thing that you're going to do that you're going to focus on to improve upon your personal brand as we're soon going to be allowed to go back out and meet with people again. So the first thing is the brand identity. So your values, getting clear on who you are, what you stand for, what you want to be known for, and the way that you're showing up. because as Michelle said earlier, it's about how other people are perceiving you. And if you're not influencing that, people are going to form a judgment. They're going to form an impression of you anyway. James, good afternoon. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for joining. Hazel, I have spotted little tendencies that I have in meetings, which I had never spotted before. But seeing myself and hearing myself on camera has highlighted areas that actually come across very differently to how I had perceived. Great learning. Thank you, Hazel, for sharing that. And again, I've had people approach me about this and saying, now that they've seen themselves on camera, they're not liking what they're seeing. What can they do about it? What can they do differently? This has been a great opportunity in a way that we've had to be showing up on camera because we get to see ourselves. And yes, it makes us uncomfortable. It's like standing up in front of a room of strangers and delivering a presentation. Most people will feel uncomfortable with that. And it's the same with showing up on camera. So think about what you've seen of you as you've shown up on camera and what would you like to tweak? What could you change to do differently? Is it the perception that let me rephrase that. The perception that you're seeing of yourself on camera, is it the same perception that you imagined before? To Hazel's point, or did you find that you're coming across very differently to what you thought? And is that in a better way or a worse way? And if it's not as good as you thought, then what are you going to do to change that? Thank you, Hazel, for sharing. And it's great to see you here. Manoj, hello there. How are you doing, sir? Good point. This is where I struggled being an introvert. I will take advice on how to reach people. Totally. And again, if you're someone who is in the job market, you're looking for your next role, or even, you are still in employment, but you're actually thinking about moving on to something new. Maybe you're looking to get promotion and move up the career ladder, or to simply try something new. A great way to do that is by reaching out and connecting with people. And the other thing here that I'd like you to consider is that if you are looking to change role or to even try something different, identify someone who's doing that already and reach out to them. Maybe just ask them for a 15-minute chat and ask them about what that's like, what it involves, and maybe some tips and strategies that they can share with you to help you on your way, because people love to help. They love to advise and share their experiences to help you too and to bring you up. So do reach out. And so what else is there? We've talked about brand identity. We've talked about connection and relationships and networking. In addition to that, we can look at presence. And presence is very, very powerful because it encompasses the significant part of our communication. Many people, when they hear about communication, they think about what we say, the words that we say. And I often hear people say, particularly if they're shy, they're introverted, they're lacking confidence, if we use an example of a networking meeting or speaking to a stranger, they'll say, well, I don't know what to say. I don't like to speak up because I feel stupid. I might say the wrong thing, or they'll think I'm stupid. They'll judge me. But here's the thing. The truth is that first impression is formed within the first 7 seconds. And that's before you've even uttered a word. So what does that mean? It means that you want to look at your presence, your gravitas, the way that you're showing up before you even think about speaking. So we look at things like body language and simply smiling. Smiling is so simple, it's so easy to do and so easy to forget to do. So think about that. Are you smiling when you walk into a room, when you go into a meeting, when you get on your Zoom calls or your team calls? Do you smile? And think about the difference that makes, because it's warming, it builds connection. So what can you do differently when it comes to your presence? Maybe it's about your body language, it's about your posture, the way that you sit at your desk when you're on camera, but also then bring that into the real world when you're meeting people. How are you showing up? Do you ooze that confidence when someone meets you? Do you have your shoulders slumped maybe? Do you keep your head down? Do you tend to look at the ground? Do you maintain eye contact? What are you doing? What can you do even better? Think about it. If you stood with your shoulders back, head up, a smile on your face, and making eye contact with someone, you're going to be perceived as much, much more confident. That in itself will have people respond to you in a very different way to if you're showing up lacking that confidence. So if you are turning up maybe with your shoulders slumped, you're feeling nervous and anxious, and that's coming through in your physiology, people will pick that up. And it's really important to be mindful of how you are showing up in person, and maybe ask a couple of people that you trust, people that you know who've seen you in person often. Ask them to be honest with you and say, how do I come across? What could I do better? Because people will want to help, they will want to advise and have you improving on yourself so you can be the best version of you. Let's have a look. James, your own view about how we appear on camera is only a mindset issue. Indeed, I've been there. You are the same person that people see day in and day out. You don't think about this when you stop to talk to someone on the street, in a pub or a restaurant. Yet we criticize ourselves when on camera. There is proof that our own brain reacts differently to what we see on camera than to what we see in the mirror. Stop judging yourself. Yes, stop judging yourself. And I'll admit, I've been there. It took me a while to overcome my fear of speaking to camera. And that's even before we talk about going live on camera. So I'm being very honest with you here. Last year, so at the start of 2020, one of the things that I really focused on was overcoming my fear of speaking to camera. And that wasn't live. That was just speaking to a camera, like on my phone or on my laptop, to record videos. Because I had that fear as well. And by seeing yourself, it's odd, it's unusual to when you're, for example, in a meeting room or you're just chatting to someone when you can't see yourself. And suddenly, when you put a camera in front of somebody, everything changes. And it can be very, very difficult. And it takes practice. So that is really important. And again, for me, starting to do lives, I've only started doing lives this year, as most of you will know, if you've been following me on these. And yeah, it's building a confidence, it's stretching yourself, it's trying new things. But at the end of the day, we have to let go of that judgment. We really, really do. And what we want to be doing is taking on the feedback, so our own feedback, as well as feedback of others, to how we can improve, to how we can do better, and not judge ourselves, because we're all learning, we're all a work in progress in everything that we do. And when you are, let's say, on a Zoom or a team call, and you're seeing yourself and you're thinking, that's not how I would like to be coming across. Okay, well, what does that mean for you? How would you like to come across? And then what can you do differently to make it, to form a different impression for others? So think about that. What is it you want to be doing? What is the one thing, because I'm giving you a lot of information here, just pick one thing that you would like to be working on. Thank you, James, for sharing that. Really, really good point. So we talked about presence. Think about that. Is that the one thing that you want to focus on? Or maybe it is about your mindset, the inner work. Now, where would that be relevant, you might be thinking? That would be relevant if you're someone who maybe is struggling with confidence and self-esteem, or perhaps even your own self-worth. And so you know that when you show up, although you're trying to come across as being confident and knowing what you're about, inside you're not feeling great about it. It could be that you're having fears around other people's judgment. As James mentioned, it could be that you have a fear of speaking up, of voicing your opinions and of being heard. And so all of these things create fears, and this is where we can work on our mindset. So you often hear people saying, well, I just say keep thinking positively all the time. Yes, that can help as well. But you want to also be thinking about, where are those fears coming from? Where is the lack of confidence coming from? Because oftentimes they can be irrational. And it's by being really honest with yourself and having an honest conversation with yourself that you get to realize, well, where is that coming from? Is this true? Is it a fact, what I'm telling myself? Or is it something I'm telling myself that actually is completely irrational and isn't serving me? So having that honest conversation with yourself, or speaking to someone who you trust, who can give you that feedback and have a relevant conversation with you about that, can really help you to improve your mindset. Because ultimately, when we own a winning mindset, we have a completely different experience of life. So think about the way that you look at situations. Do you see opportunities? Do you see problems? How do you interpret something that shows up as a challenge for you? Do you kind of start wanting to give up, or do you want to overcome and break through that challenge? Think about that, and how can you, because we can all keep working on our mindset. Again, something else that is a work in progress. So what can you do to work on that? Let me know which one you're going to be choosing to work on. What are you going to focus on? And also let me know in the comments if this is resonating with you. Is this helpful for you? Because if it is, I can go into even more depth on this in future episodes of the show. And finally, so we've talked, let's just recap. We've talked about your brand identity, so getting clear on who you are, what you stand for. And this is where your personal brand begins. That whole journey begins with looking at yourself. It starts with you. So is that the thing you're going to be focusing on? Is it going to be the connection, the relationships, and developing, nurturing both your existing relationships and expanding your network? What is important for you to be doing right now? And what about your presence? What can you do differently to show up with even more gravitas when it's online or when it's in person? And what about mindset? What are you going to do there to develop an even more optimal, powerful mindset so that you then feel that you can take back more control of your experiences and what's going on for you? And number 5 is communication. And communication is whether it's communicating to others on the phone, in meetings, but also presenting to an audience. And imagine, I mentioned earlier, it's a lot harder to maintain engagement with people, particularly if you're presenting online. So what are you doing to ensure that you maintain that engagement with people, that you keep them focused as you're talking, rather than having them checking their emails or maybe scrolling through their phone and just waiting for you to finish? So that is something else to think about. Is it your speaking skills? Is it your confidence around speaking and overcoming that fear of speaking in front of an audience? There's so many facets to your personal brand, because all of these things come together and create that impression. They form that impression that other people will experience, as I said earlier, when they meet you, when they work with you. And then it'll leave that feeling that they experience when they hear your name mentioned. So what would you like that experience to be? So tell me, has this been helpful? Which one of those are you going to be focusing on over the coming weeks as we're starting to come out of lockdown and you're going to be going back potentially into the workplace and meeting people again, maybe going out and meeting clients, or even just going out and meeting your friends and family? How are you going to be showing up differently? So quickly to recap, let me know in the comments which one it is for you. Is it the connection, the relationships? Is it your mindset and having more confidence, showing up with more certainty in yourself? Is it having a stronger presence? Is it about getting clear on your brand identity? It's about your communication style, your engagement with others. Let me know in the comments. And if you have any questions on any of this, also let me know. I'll be happy to answer them here. Or if you're watching this on replay, I will be coming back and checking. So ask any questions you have and I can answer them here for you. Or of course you can DM me as well and we can have a conversation. Hazel, what are you going to be focusing on? I will be working on getting clear on what I want to be known for, what I really bring to the table. I want to get clear on that and how I will show up. Thank you, Hazel, for sharing that. And also, I love what you've mentioned there about getting clear on what you really bring to the table. Why? Because oftentimes natural human behavior is we look at the negatives, we look at the things that go wrong, the things that we're not good at, and we forget to recognize and celebrate our accomplishments, the value that we bring, the things that we're good at, our strengths. So it's really, really important. Thank you, Hazel, for mentioning that, to think about what do you bring to the table. Start to keep a little journal or note on your laptop of what that is and refer to your accomplishments, your wins, the pieces of work that you do are really good, so that it serves you twofold. Firstly, it serves you when you come to having a review with your manager and you can remind them of all the great things that you've done. But also it's by keep continuing to do that, it's reinforcing how good you are at what you do and the value that you bring and your accomplishments, your successes, and also celebrate them. Thank you so much, Hazel, for sharing. Okay, so let me know if this has been useful. If you have any questions, I'm going to wrap up in a minute. So I know it takes a few seconds for the comments to come through. And let me know what you think. Has this been useful? Is this something you've even been thinking about? I'm sure a lot of people last night here in the UK, when they heard about the plan over the next few months, are thinking about just going and seeing family, loved ones, friends, having a social life again, maybe participating in sports, just getting active again, and seeing people, mixing with people. But think about, how is this going to be impacting you from your career perspective in the workplace? What can you do differently? What can you take advantage of now to develop and enhance so that you show up with an even stronger personal brand? As a quick recap, I'll just remind you, the first thing you can think about is your brand identity. So as Hazel said, getting clear on who you are, what you stand for, what you want to be known for, what value you bring to the table. Number two, think about your mindset. What can you do to have different experiences by changing or shifting your perceptions of the experiences that you're having and looking at them in a positive way? Is it your presence? Do you want to make a bigger impact when you meet people? Do you want to have people have that certainty in you that you have in yourself? How can you do that? The fourth one is communication. So when you're communicating with us, how can you keep people engaged with you? What are you going to do differently to ensure that people want to hear what you have to say and listen to the end and not get distracted with the phones or their emails? And then finally, connection. Something I talk about a lot is, what can you do to continue to nurture your relationships, your network, as well as to expand it? So I hope that has been helpful for you. Do let me know which one you're going to be focusing on over the coming weeks, and also how the coming out of this lockdown will be impacting you in your career. Will you be returning to the office? Do you even know yet? Will you be staying full-time at home, working remotely? What is the impact of this going to be for you when it comes to your job, when it comes to your career? Let me know. So I'm not seeing any more questions, so I'm going to wrap up for today. But as I said, I will be checking back in. If you have any questions and you're watching on replay, do let me know and I'll come back and answer them for you. Thank you very much for joining me here today. And remember, to continue to build your influence, to make an impact, and to continue to show up being the best version of yourself. And I look forward to seeing you same time, same place next week. Take care, and I will see you very, very soon. Thank you, Hazel, for your comment there. Really helpful. Great. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you very soon. I know we have a call in the diary. Take care of yourselves, guys, and have a great week. Bye-bye.